Hello, and welcome to another episode of BergenStages Television. I'm Jim Bumgardner, your host, and this is our entertainment magazine here at Bergen Community College. And before we get into the show, I just want to take a moment to thank our media technologies people. I want to thank Ted and Pete, Sean, and especially our producer, Jim Quimby, and our executive producer, Marianne Coe Rivera, for putting our show together. This is the beginning of our 15th season, and I want to thank you, the audience, for watching our wonderful show and keeping us in your living rooms and continuing to support BergenStages here at Bergen Community College. But today we've got an exceptional show for you because we're going to be talking about a show that we're in rehearsal for called She Kills Monsters. And we have Ashlyn Kurtzman, we have Juliana Botero, and Hector Hidalgo here, and all three of you are performers in our production. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hi. Thank you for having us.
Yay, thank you. Before we get to talking about the show, and I know Hector and Yuri have been here before, we like to talk about who you are and how you got to Bergen. So Ashlyn, since you're our newbie here, I'm going to pick on you first. How are we so lucky to have you here at Bergen Community College?
Yes, after high school, I kind of wanted to take it slow. I knew I didn't want to throw all my money at one thing all at once. So my parents were like, oh, go to Bergen. My parents were alumni here, so they were like, it's a really good school. So I waddled here and I did some fun things. I took Lee's acting class my second semester and I immediately fell in love with it. And I hadn't done the shows my first year because I wanted to take it slow.
Academics,
yeah. Mm-hmm. But this year I was like, you know what, I really miss performing. Every time I see anything online of anyone performing, singing, acting, I'm like, God, I miss it so much. So cool. I'm happy to get back into it.
Cool. And where did you go to high school?
I went to Netley High.
Oh, cool. Great. Did you do theater while you were there?
I did.
Oh, nice. Any shows that we would know, or are these?
Yes, we did Newsies, we did Rock of Ages, we did Edges, a Song Cycle, and then for my senior year, we did 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee.
So you're musical theater.
Yeah.
And we didn't get you in the musical theater auditions either.
Not yet, but
not yet.
Hopefully soon.
Good. Well, welcome. And Yuri, remind us, I know that you're not a theater major.
Yes,
you're an art major.
I did change majors recently. Not theater.
Not.
I changed the education recently.
To get into art education, or
general, just general education. I'm trying to figure out right now what I want to do, because I do really love art, and that's never going to be not a part of me. But education has started to become something that I really enjoy. Cool. I work at a daycare currently, and that made me realize, wow, as much as I love art, I don't want that to be my main career focus because it'll just kind of ruin the arts for me to have that be like my sole focus. Because I feel I do it as a hobby, it's something that I love, and that's why I do theater. Everything's just like, it's something that I put my passion into, but trying to make money off of it ends up, for me personally, just it's so difficult, and like it can be draining sometimes when I have to do things for other people.
Sure.
But with children, you know, I love working with them, and it's never like really hard for me to connect with them, and even on the hard days, like I still enjoy my job. And I hope to do something further in education, maybe with art as well, maybe with speech therapy or with deaf children, teaching deaf children art. Something similar to that would be really exciting for me.
That's, yeah. And what age group are you looking at?
That's a great question. I mean, right now I work with like 1 to 2 year olds, typically, very young kids. But I've worked as far as late elementary school, middle school. That's what I've done. I don't know what I would want to do yet. Like for the future, we're going to see. We'll have to see that.
You got time. And we got to you from Dumont.
Yes, from Dumont High
where
School.
I know that you performed in several things while you were at Dumont.
Yes, I did. I think I did every single year. I did both the straight play and the musical, which is kind of crazy. Every single year. So we did things like The Little Mermaid, and we also did Godspell, and we did You Can't Take It With You, which is one of my favorites. You Can't Take It With You. I got to play Essie in that, and I got to be a silly little ballerina. Like that was so. I love any time period pieces. Like we also did Radium Girls here, and I just loved dressing up in the 20s costumes and everything. Oh, it's so fun. Like
Good
the little
period pieces
eyebrows.
and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I enjoy
Unfortunately,
that.
She Kills doesn't go that much into period
It's
pieces. But it does
90s.
go
It's
into,
90s.
Yeah.
So
Oh, is that a
technically,
period?
at this point,
Careful.
it's getting kind of far
That was
away.
just yesterday, wasn't it?
I know, right?
Hector, before we get into talking about She Kills, tell us more about yourself again. Talk about switching majors.
Yes.
You've just done that.
Yes, I just did. I've switched my major multiple times throughout my time here at Bergen. Before I even came to Bergen, I took about a 2-year break from school right after high school. I just joined the workforce. I started a professional career in wrestling.
That's right.
And I went by Set the Showman, and it was a silly actor character, really goofy. For some reason it worked, but I also didn't really want to do wrestling, so what brought me back was theater. After a semester or two, I decided to go from general education to theater, and then I went from theater to education, and then I went now currently from education to engineering. My main goal for my academic timeline is to go into either the branch of engineering of either electric or programming or computers. That way I could secure a job that isn't grueling hours and I can still pursue a theater career as a hobby
In the evenings and weekends.
in the
and stuff.
evenings and see what that brings me.
Cool, cool. And did you have a passion for engineering before you did the swap over? Was there something about engineering that you went, that's...
No, actually, I just garnered my interest towards engineering recently because I started getting a lot into mechanics and a lot into science. A lot of things that I didn't apply myself too much during high school. And now that I've been like reading about those things on my free time, I think even though I don't have the most natural aptitude for the sciences, I think that I have the guts to just persevere and learn.
And you have the passion now.
Yes.
It makes it much more fun to do it. Yeah, yeah. I think that's what's fun. And we've got you as a theater major.
No.
Not yet.
No.
But I think that's the beauty of coming to Bergen is making these decisions and be able to say, you know what, while I'm here, I'm going to decide where I'm going to go after here or what I'm going to do after. Yeah, that you could swap from one to art to education. From education, theater, to finally to engineering, but you've got the time, and it's not costing you a fortune to make these decisions.
Yeah, I feel comfortable to switch things around.
And they all
here.
have the core courses. So you know when you're taking your English and the math and all that kind of stuff, all that's a part to all the majors. So it's great
Yeah.
that you're getting that much in. So I think that's kind of cool. But I'll get you in the theater program. So I got to get 1 out of the 3 here. No, I'm just kidding. But what that's also talking about being in BergenStages is you don't have to be a theater major to be in our shows. Anybody can be in the shows, and it's great to have an engineering major, an education major, and an undecided major all together in one place there. So let's talk about, great. So it's great to have you guys come from high school and your various backgrounds to come to Bergen to do what you're doing. So you came here to Bergen. Yuri, we know that you've done, since you've been here,
I did Radium Girls and The Crucible.
right, the two shows. I was trying to think if there was a third one, but the two of those. Hector, since you've been here,
I've done The World Goes Round, I've done The Man of La Mancha, and I've also done A Midsummer Night's Dream, which is part of the Bergen Alumni Theater.
right.
And I was also working backstage on Radium Girls as well.
Right, and the last time you were here was for Poor Fellows.
Poor
the shows
Fellows,
that you were
yes,
in
it
and,
was, yeah.
with student directing a theater production workshop there. That's great. So see, we got the road laid ahead for you. So good. So you heard about this show called She Kills Monsters, and it's really kind of a popular show out there. It never made it to Broadway. It was not, a big show that came in, but it came in kind of through the back doors, back channels, maybe through social media, people talking about it and all that. Had you heard of it before we even said we were doing this?
I don't think I had, but when I was looking into it, once it was announced, I realized like how big of a community there was surrounding this one specific play. And when looking into it, it was just such a diverse group. Like it was a lot of high schools, a lot of really anybody could do it based off of, although some of the stage directions seem like kind of insane, like there are definitely ways to do it where it's like possible for everybody, And there's like a lot of varied characters in it. So it leaves a lot of interpretation into who can be cast as who.
Oh, cool. Much open casting as opposed to being so specific that you need this,
Yeah.
soprano role to, cool. That's great. So, and Hector, had you heard of She Kills Monsters before we suddenly said we're going to do it here?
Yes, I heard of it here and there. I've recently been wanting to explore the game that the show is based off,
Which
Dungeons
is?
Dungeons and Dragons. But I never had a group of friends to ever like start into it. So it was more like a passing, like me scrolling through social media and seeing things about D&D. There's a guy that uses a D20 and he rolls it to determine what he eats for lunch.
The sandwich guy?
Yeah, the D20 roll for sandwich.
Oh my god.
And through the grapevine, I saw that there was a play about D&D. Now, I never read it because I had so much on my plate, but I knew that it existed. And then when I heard that was on the list for the shows that we were doing for this semester, I was like, okay, cool. Like, that's awesome. And I ended up seeing a lot of people who are in this program or just in this school in general who frequent BergenStages were actually really into D&D. So,
It's such a group, I had no idea. It scared me a little bit. But, so Dr. Legionitis is directing the piece, and Aaron Ingersoll, Professor Aaron Ingersoll, is our fight director, which we'll get into the nuances of what all that means. But you went to the auditions for this show.
Yes.
And I know that there were sides, there were parts of the script that you could read out. So you don't do a monologue for us. I know some theaters make you do your own monologue or all that kind of stuff. We don't do that at Bergen. We give you a side, a piece of the script, and then what happened? How was the audition for you?
It was a lot of fun. That was the most calm I've ever been for an audition. They had passed out the sides, and we kind of paired up with whoever at first and worked on it, and then we would go in, and then they would pair you up. Like, okay, now you read with Yuri, or you read with Hector, you read for Lilith, or you read for Agnes. Go off. They give you 20 minutes to kind of drill it, and then you'd come back, read it for them. They'd say thank you, and then they'd give you either more parts to read for, or they'd say, okay, we've seen enough, get out. But no, it was really chill, and I
Cool.
loved it.
Cool,
Yeah.
cool. And just swapped who's going to read with who,
Yeah.
just kind of get to, and it was just couples doing it, or were there big groups?
I was there for both days of the audition just because, I was late to both of them because I was coming from work. But I went to both days of the audition, and we did a fight call, or we were just learning how to do basic fight things. With wooden sticks. And then we also did the sides as well. So in the first day of auditions, I was there with, I think it was a group of 4 people. So I was reading for Tilly, somebody else read for Agnes, and then we have 2 demon cheerleaders that they were reading
So
for.
so there was a
Yeah.
foursome that read at that point
Yeah.
there. But and so then you kind of touched on it. So you had this reading to go on, and so they swapped up to I guess size people up who reads well together.
Yeah.
Your 2 characters play sisters.
Yes.
Yes.
So was there some kind of familiarity, something that the lead was looking for
Yeah.
in the sister? And I don't know the answer to that. Maybe you do at this point, but maybe there was something you're looking for.
We did get to read together at
Oh,
the very
cool,
least
cool.
the first
Oh, great.
time. No, I don't remember which time, but we did read together
So
as
notes were
Tilly
made of going,
and
yes,
Agnes.
this will work, this will work. And then you had fight choreography going on as
Yes.
well. So what happens at fight? You're not expected to come in to know how to
No,
do
no, no.
this, right?
Nope.
So what happens? Right, nope. So what happens at a fight audition?
Well, we had our fight choreographer there, Aaron, and then I think there was somebody else helping out there. But basically, they were just teaching us the very basics of fight calls and how they work and how to be safe as well, because that's kind of the most
number one,
important thing.
right,
That's
right.
the most important thing is the safety that comes along with it. We were learning. We had our wooden sticks that they were using us, and they taught us
fake sword,
parries.
your fake sword,
Our
how to-
fake, yeah. The parries. They taught us how to thrust and all those different things together, and we just kind of went over that multiple times until we kind of got the basics down. And then once we got the basics down, they had groups of 2 of us, which me and Ashlyn were a group together. And then they would each give us an adjective. So I don't remember what my adjective was, but the adjective could be, I think yours was reckless.
Yeah, mine was reckless.
Reckless or do it happy or determined or with disgust or
Oh, wow.
different
So you
things
bring
like
that
that.
into the thing. So you had never done sword fighting before, had you?
No, I have not.
So this is the first time you're suddenly using this thing fighting with people.
Yes, I'm usually used to my hands. So.
And you were enjoying this.
Oh, I had so much fun. It was awesome.
But it's a very slow speed, right? You start out very slow.
Very, actually.
Working.
One thing I recognized when it comes to stage combat, not even just in this audition, but our fight choreographer also had a bit of a workshop for us, for students in theater club as well, and taught us a lot of basic fundamentals on top of the stuff that she teaches us in auditions.
Something important.
And a very big parallel between my wrestling background and stage combat is that because it's live action, slow is actually better than fast. Because fast, a lot of people can't, what's the word? A lot of people can't register what you're doing if it's too fast.
Just flies by. Yeah,
so when
yeah.
it's
So
slow
take the time,
and it's
yeah.
grand and it's over the top, people eat it up.
Great. So keep that in mind. We're going to take a short break. So thanks, Hector, Juliana, and Ashlyn. We're going to take a quick break, come right back, and we'll talk more about She Kills Monsters.
Once there was a boy who did the same thing again and again. One day, he was told he had autism. He got help and slowly learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
Hello and welcome back to BergenStages Television. Today we're talking to three of our actors from the upcoming show called She Kills Monsters. It's Ashlyn, Juliana, and Hector. We stopped talking about at the break about your auditions and that you were doing a lot of
And now we're
physical
talking about milk.
stuff there. We're doing what?
We're talking about milk now.
And we're talking about milk now.
Yeah, back to the milk.
A little milk kind of goes into the so with the stage combat, you were partnered up with people. And you had to fight them with these sticks and this cool adjective. What's the adjective? What is that all about? Why?
Oh, it was just to give us like adjectives on how to fight. So like we would just do normal fighting and just really focus on the safety concerns and stuff like that. But then with the adjectives, we used it to fight differently. Like
Did it bring something more to the fight, Ashley?
It really did. It brought another level of challenge because when I was working on it with Yuri, it was a lot of like, okay, I'm gonna attack you now. And then when they add like, okay, now do it like you're mad, it was like, okay, I have to be mad, but I don't want to hurt her. So it was interesting to add like the adjective, and it was more fun too to like, because when you're sword fighting, you can't just always like.
What was yours?
Well, you could, but it kind of loses something, doesn't it?
I don't remember the specific adjective, but I had to act, I think it was maniacal actually.
Maniacal.
And when you have adjectives that change your personality so much, I notice it even changes the way you execute a move. So instead of doing a textbook casting like this, maybe since you're maniacal and you're very like unstable, maybe it's like very very unorganized.
Unorganized.
attack,
Oh, I like
yeah.
that. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I never even heard about this process, so that's cool. So Aaron brought that to the table to work on. Cool. So you all got cast. Congratulations. Yay! So tell us a little bit about your characters. You play Agnes, and Agnes finds a book. So tell us a little bit about Agnes.
Agnes is a mess. She has lost both of her parents and her little sister, so she is kind of living life solo. And then when she finds her little sister's D&D book, she kind of makes the connection of like, oh, I didn't really know my sister. Maybe by playing this game, I can get a sense of who she was and kind of find closure to that. And then she herself, while playing the game, simultaneously falls in love with it and realizes like how special her sister was and just what she lost.
So there's no closeness to the sister beforehand, but now she gets closer through that. So Agnes doesn't understand Dungeons and Dragons at all, so she gets Chuck. How does she find Chuck? Who Hector plays Chuck, right? Am I looking at you going, well, you're out of your mind? Who is the dungeon master?
Yes.
How does Agnes find Chuck?
She finds Chuck at a geek store, I imagine like a comic book store, and she hears through the grapevine that he knows a thing or two about Dungeons and Dragons, and she goes to him for help, and he happily helps because he has heard of Tilly, and he has played with Tilly.
Oh, cool. And you are a dungeon master normally anyway in the game, or did you just do it for this particular game?
Yes, Chuck is usually a dungeon master. And to be a dungeon master, from my understanding, usually takes proficient knowledge into the game itself. He even proclaims that he understands both the first and second editions of Dungeons and Dragons. So I'm pretty sure he frequents being the dungeon master.
Oh, cool. And he's got a whole setup.
Oh yes, he
Whole
has a
setup
whole
about being his
setup.
desk and all this. He's just the nerd of nerds with his setup there.
He even works at like a nerdy establishment, which I don't know if we've established what exactly it is. But when I open up the show, I'm like stalking things. I'm stalking like action figures, memorabilia.
Oh,
so,
okay, cool.
Yeah, so.
And so you take on the journey, and you know Tilly's character, which is Tilly
Tilly Evans, but Tilly is the paladin during D&D.
The paladin, that's what it is.
That's
Yes,
what it
yes,
is.
yeah.
Yeah, I actually play D&D. I've played since high school. So when I read the script, this is the first time I was reading a script before an audition, so that's a big thing for me. I read the whole thing, and I was like, wow, I want to be Tilly so bad. But Tilly is the younger sister of Agnes. She's died when she was 15, unfortunately.
And this all happens pre-show, so we know
Yeah.
that you're already in the blue and not to know what to do with your life right when the show starts.
Right.
Yeah, so Tilly's never alive, actually, in the production. I guess technically in the prologue.
Yeah, like flashback.
yeah.
Like there's a
There's some
flashback,
flashbacks and
but
stuff.
during the actual show, Tilly is already long gone at this point. It had been a couple of years since the car crash. So the entire time you see Tilly during the actual D&D game as Tilly is the paladin. So this is basically the version of herself that she always wanted to be. Perfect, like magical, strong, able, like courageous, able to help the people around her. And I believe personally that's why she chose paladin, because paladins are basically knights in D&D. Like they are righteous, and they aid the people around them with like a really cool sword.
And that's a lot
Yeah.
about Dungeons & Dragons is alter egos. It's
Yeah.
like the people in it, this is something they wouldn't normally be, but this game gives them the opportunity to be. I think there's the lesson in here, the theme to this,
Yeah.
but finding a chance to express yourself differently in this game. And so the character doesn't ever die, it's always in the game.
Yeah, so it is possible for characters in D&D to die, but you could always make a new
Gotcha.
adventure. Like the adventures never have to end. And the entire version of Tilly, at least in the production, is kind of a ghost, I'd say.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
similar
yeah.
to that, where she's being portrayed through Chuck, basically.
So
and
Chuck
also,
is
yeah.
the Tilly-esque month.
Yeah, because
puppet master.
Puppet master, there's the great word, thank you.
him, and then also through Agnes's like head when she's having her more delusional moments.
And had you ever played D&D before, you said?
No, I have never played
So
D&D
this is all
before.
new
Yes.
turf for you, and
Yeah.
Ashley, I think you as well, that this is all new turf for you to
Yeah.
learn this. But our audience, most of them probably won't know D&D. We'll have a great crowd that does, and then we're going to have, do you need to know D&D to understand this script?
No.
No.
I don't think so, no.
So following along is going to be pretty easy, just kind of, because it's a story that
It's just a
evolves.
lot of action, and it's also a very heartfelt story.
It is.
Like in there, and very funny.
It really, that's it's a comedy too. And I
Yes.
keep going, it's a comedy really? Yeah, but there's some
Because it doesn't sound like
really funny
based
moments
off
in
of
it.
like what you hear about it, about like, oh yeah, Agnes and her dead parents and her dead sister.
So much brutal exposition.
And then there's a lot of monsters. This play is, I just finished a production meeting and I went, what? Which monster? There's this person that's part animal, part insect. You know,
Yes.
The Medusa appears,
Yeah.
there's a Cyclops, there's all these different monsters, and they all get slayed in some way.
And we fight them.
To what end? why do we keep killing? Why do these monsters keep coming?
Well, because she kills them.
Oh, she slays.
She kills monsters.
Yeah.
Is that to get to the end of the game? Is this because they're stopping you from learning something about your sister? What do these adventures mean for you to have to go through?
That's a really good question. I think the monsters in the game, overall, they kind of stop you from reaching an end goal. But I think to Agnes, they're preparing her for her big battle with her like inner demons. So I feel like these monsters in game are like, they're very, not want to say mundane, but they're very like surface level, like, okay, we're gonna kill Medusa, we're gonna kill a Cyclops, a Beholder. And then her next big bad is a doppelganger that looks just like her boyfriend, who she has struggled, she struggles with their relationship. So that, when she overcomes that, that only brings her closer to, almost fighting herself in a way.
Oh, wow. Wow. And you fight as well. You fight off some of these monsters as the dungeon master, or do you stay up above and watch the puppetry happening?
No, I don't actually. Throughout the entire show, I'm actually mimicking 90% of the events that are happening during the campaign.
Wow. That's kind of cool. That's
Because
kinda cool place to be.
in retrospect, just like how all of the events in The Man of La Mancha are from Don Quixote's brain, a lot of the events from She Kills Monsters are created by Chuck.
From what he's read from this.
From what he's read from the module, yes.
Wow, that's kind of a cool place to be, kind of a powerful position.
awesome.
And there's a lot of costumes. I know Soraya
Yeah.
is like, I just looked at this list, I said, you need to graph this out. I don't get who's wearing what, when they have to change into what. There's a gelatin
Oh yeah,
cube or something.
Oh, right. That's
a big cube of Jello.
Yeah. It's like, wow, there are just so many monsters out there, and heads and costumes that are happening, which is kind of exciting. That's what I love about the show. It's, I think you alluded to it, it's a period piece.
Yeah, technically, yeah. At this point, 90s is a period piece.
The
and
90s
that's
is a period,
so
yeah.
weird.
Which I think is important. Something you alluded to was that it's a early on in the game of Dungeons and Dragons, right?
Yes.
I don't think this has been around much longer than early.
I believe it
90s.
came out in the 70s. Actually, originally it was the 70s.
Well, not my high school.
But yeah, exactly. Like it was very, especially at this time. Like now, Dungeons and Dragons is more widely accepted by society, and there's a lot more people playing it and are open about it. But at this time, this was very strange. Like it was.
The religious people would probably go crazy.
Yeah, during the religious panic, the satanic panic, I believe, like it was nobody could play it otherwise, or like out in the open. Otherwise, they would be like mocked.
Satanic worship and what
Exactly.
are you doing? That's there and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't realize it had been that. But in the 90s, this is like one of the very first series of this, right?
Yeah.
I know there's like that monster has now morphed in 2023 that looks different or has a different head. So we're like trying to be as specific as possible to the period we're in.
Yes.
And as well as you're in real time too. There's the reality of not being in the story,
Right.
and you wear clothes and stuff from the 90s, I
Yeah.
guess. I think we did the PR shot, and it was
Yes.
great because it was like, boy, she's just so ordinary.
Yeah.
And then we suddenly see Tilly up on that thing, and she's just ready to go. It's like, wow, what a great contrast. So Soraya's working hard to get this out as well. Dean Matson is our sound designer. I don't know if you've heard any of his stuff, but he and Lee have been working so closely to get some
it's so
really
good.
cool stuff happening. Right. And we were talking about, and like flapping dragon wings that are going to be coming from over here in this speaker and all this kind, and subwoofers so that you get this kind of, the whole building kind of shaking when things are happening there. So,
Oh, so
so
exciting.
Dean, of course, is working his magic along the way there.
And it's such an intimate space too.
In such an intimate space, yeah. Miro, of course, is wonderful with lighting, so she's working on these great lighting designs. I won't give anything away, but there's some really kind of cool gobos that are about to happen with the show. So now you're in the crunches of the rehearsal, getting ready for opening night. Is there anything that happened between now and opening that you're hoping for?
Well, we just finished up with. We're gonna be off book today.
Yeah.
So you're just there. So you're
We're-
just
yeah,
like,
we're
okay,
just getting into
we
it.
have a show now. We
Yep.
think we're going to find out because we're going to put it all.
And we're gonna finally be in the space where we're gonna be performing.
You've been doing it in the rehearsal
Yeah,
space, so now you're moving into the theater itself with all the levels, which is
Yeah.
I'm nervous about.
Yeah, I think now it's going to be real, like being in the space, because
Yes,
right now all the platforms it's just tape. So they're like, well, hypothetically, you'll be a couple
You'll
feet
be
off
up
the ground,
higher, and
but
yeah. Oh, wait till you get in there. You're going to be excited to get in there.
God.
Yeah. So the show opens February 23rd.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, I can't believe our show's over with, but Hector, Juliana, Ashley, thank you so much for being here today, and thank you for watching the show. It's She Kills Monsters, and it opens on February 23rd in the Inter Hall Lab Theater. So get your tickets now at tickets.bergen.edu. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you at the theater.